What insider secrets does the company you work for not want its customers to find out? I work for a casino. Pro tip: don't go. I work at a big store in the Netherlands, and at the end of every advertisement week we have to make sure the shelves are almost empty so it will look like almost everything's sold out and the products we sell are popular. In reality, we still have a lot in the stockroom, but this way people will buy it faster because 1, it's on sale, 2, it's almost sold out, 3, it's a popular product, 4, they think the company as a whole is doing a great job. It isn't really a big secret, but I thought it's quite funny. Edit: the regular shelves are well stocked, I only meant the shelves that are for the advertised products of that week. That they farm out their call centers to third-party companies that pay $11 per hour. And they have access to all your account info. This is true of academia in general, but you have no idea how much money textbook companies spend on wooing professors. Just to give a couple examples, the last time I went to the big conference in my field, which was held in Atlanta that year, Bedford St. Martin rented out the Atlanta Braves stadium, bussed everyone at the conference there, about 2,000 people, gave us a free buffet that stretched through 3 rooms, we were up in the box seats, with an open bar, and they opened up all the games in the back hallways for us to play. Pearson's party was far more modest. They rented out the Coke Museum, gave us all free tours, and their free buffet only stretched through 1 freaking room, but with much classier food, but still had an open bar. Just in case you were wondering why those textbooks of yours are so expensive. I worked at Best Buy warehouse. One tip: when buying a TV, make sure the staff in store open and check the screen first before you take it out of store, no matter the size of the TV. During busy season like Christmas, Boxing Day, or Black Friday, we will drop a lot of products during shipping and packing, so yeah. Printer cleaning kits are just cotton swabs and isopropyl alcohol. You can buy a huge supply of those ingredients from Walgreens for $5. I worked at Subway, which is franchised, so I doubt this is the same for every Subway you visit, but when the meat is defrosted to be used, we had like 3 days to sell it. After that, we'd have to throw it away. The franchise owner and area manager would often intimidate staff into keeping the meat on sale for up to 7 days to cut costs. I reported them to corporate, of course. Former sandwich shop employee. They put soy sauce in the tuba salad. There, that's the secret recipe. Manager made me sign an NDA about it. Spy sauce. Choux, edit, misspelled. Meant French horn salad. I take donations at Goodwill. We throw away a good 90% of what we get. The garlic butter we put on our pizza crust is, in fact, garlic margarine. There's no dairy in it at all. I'll get customers calling in every once in a while who ask for soy cheese and no garlic butter, and if I'm feeling nice, I'll let them in on the secret. They can enjoy that garlic goodness without worrying. Garlic butter just sounds more appetizing than the truth. Editing for clarification/disclaimer: I work for a local pizza joint, not a chain. I deliver. I have nothing to do with making any food whatsoever. I know butter is healthier and that margarine isn't vegan, I don't care. You're ordering a fucking pizza. If health is your main concern, you done fucked up already, son. Domino's pizza tracker isn't accurate. Employees can enter shit on the computer to make your order to appear at a different stage than it actually is. The horror. Edit: apparently some stores show where the driver is. Those are, to my knowledge, pretty accurate. The thing the employees change is the step in the series of steps to make and deliver your pizza. For example, the manager doesn't like the order sitting on the shelf. The tracker says it's passing quality inspection, sitting on a heated rack. So he will dispatch the order before a driver is there to take it. It makes the store's out the door time more impressive for the OERs. I used to work for IBM. It was well known within IBM that all projects would be significantly understaffed. This meant that the people working on those projects would work their ass off. We were all salaried employees, so we made no more money by working 80 hours per week compared to the normal 40 hours per week. IBM did make more money, however, since most of our projects were billed as time and materials, effectively hourly. When some internal people started complaining about the excessive overtime, IBM offered them the option of becoming an hourly employee. This meant that they no longer had access to healthcare, 401k, etc., but they would be making significantly more money, in some cases more than doubling their previous salary, since they would be getting paid for every hour worked. IBM didn't think many people would choose the hourly option, thinking that their benefits plan was enough to keep people there as salaried employees. Of those that were offered the option, something like 95% chose to become hourly. Every single person that chose the hourly option was fired within 1 month. That meant that some projects that were already understaffed were even more understaffed. Many projects were cancelled or delayed because IBM chose to use these employees as an example of what happens when you complain too loudly. Big technology companies providing really slick services, especially where you buy things online, make it look like they really have their shit together. Most of them don't. Their back-end systems are held together by virtual rubber bands and glue, and their staff stumble from one fire to another because the management teams never stop trying to develop new features to allow technical debt to be repaid. The public-facing end is just fancy enough to hide that all from you. This is as true for AWS as it is for Ticketmaster. Worked injection molding almost my entire life. My uncle and father build/rebuild molds in a mold repair shop. Almost every mold that has a made in the USA texture somewhere in it will have it removed. A lot of companies do not want their parts saying made in the USA. Their reasoning is if you know it was made here, then you know there is someone to sue. If it's made in some shop in China, you're less likely to pursue legal action, whether bogus or justified. You don't have to get a GED. It's just one type of high school equivalency, but GED is synonymous with that concept, so people don't know there are other options. Pearson likes it that way because they can charge $120 per test, with most of that money going to Pearson. Pearson doesn't want you to know that, depending on availability, you can also take the HiSet or the TASC battery of tests for half the price or less. Until a few years ago, before Pearson stepped in, the GED cost $10 to $20 in most places. Edit, not all colleges accept all forms of high school equivalency. And often the HiSet or TASC can be almost as expensive as the GED. Unfortunately, it's complicated and you have to do your research. Depending on where you live, you might be screwed either way. Added context because I didn't expect this to blow up. For decades the GED was dirt cheap because people who need a GED are usually broke. And then magically when education giant Pearson showed up, everybody had to charge 10 times as much because one of the easiest ways to get rich in America is to exploit poor people. Scientist here. About 50% of all published results cannot be reproduced in another lab. A lot of statistics are tweaked with to get results that are statistically significant, which is skimming the edge of what's legal and what is not. I work at a very large farming company that grows and packages a certain vegetable, hint, Bugs Bunny. The store brand and the private label brand right next to it are from the same field and there is no difference between the product in it. I tell you not to get a Chinese power supply to your computer, but we sell Chinese power supplies. I'm so sorry. I work for a mortgage company. 2 things. 1, if you're being foreclosed upon and can afford an attorney, fight it. The number of foreclosures that could have been invalidated if the borrower did something, as opposed to not showing up at all, which is what most do, is higher than one would think. 2, if you refinance, sell your house, or pay off your mortgage, get a copy of your lien release, preferably the recorded one. I can't tell you how many phone calls I get where a sale is being held up because a lien release was never prepared. I'm a chemist and throughout my education and career I have observed that scientific fraud is widespread and there is little interest in doing anything about it. I seriously doubt the validity of any sort of scientific data because of this. It's so simple to do, really. Cherry-picking data can be as simple as just not writing down a number you don't like, or even writing or entering a different number. Anytime there is money involved, there is strong push to please those paying the bills. Many times I have been asked subtly or not so subtly to repeat things until the desired result is achieved. No one out and out tells you to fabricate things, but instead it is usually implied that your work is somehow flawed or you must have made a mistake. Do it again. I can look over someone's raw data and usually tell if they are cooking the books or dry labeling, but it is all but impossible to prove. You can also tell by someone's workload. If you are putting in hard 12-hour days and your colleague spends most of his time reading magazines, something is up. Also, you could put a full camera crew in front of a lab worker and they could 100% fabricate data and you would never see anything to indicate that they were. It's just so easy. There are legit good ways to detect stuff like this. Things like statistical analysis and blind samples that are independently verified. This is almost never done. Edit, to all the folks asking about climate change. I'm not even going to touch this issue. No comment. Pizza Hut, we aren't super sanitary, extra cheese comes on a cheese pizza, the $10 coupon code is $21.55, if you tell them you are an employee and use the $10 coupon code, you get a large for $8.80. Most of us do not care about discounts, and sometimes tack them on to be nice. Edit, if you really want something cool, ask then to use half toppings, fold and crimp your pan pizza in half before putting it in the oven, and top it with the Parmesan parsley mix. Boom, you now have a pizzone. Also, stuffed crust pan pizzas totally exist for employees. The last job I was at was a family-owned steel supplier in the Northeast US. They carried I-beams, angles, flats, tube, pipe, plate, and more. They basically did prefab work, cutting product to length. In some cases, mostly government jobs, the customer would specify domestic material only. If they did not have it, they would have us grind off the heat numbers, a code that offers traceability to the plant it was made, down to the composition of foreign material to sell as domestic with doctored mill certs. Shady practice with dire consequences. Edit, I thought I should add that I can only confirm doing this 2 times, maybe a third, but I really tried to block that place out due to the lack of responsibility/ethics of the management. The last few years were really bad. Edit 2, as a lot of people are insisting me to report, I wanted to say that had I known then what I know now, I most certainly would report. This was 10 years ago and I would not be able to tell you the name of the customers or even a close date of when it exactly happened. I know there was a few pieces of square tubing, 4, 5 or 6 inch, and some cut I-beams, but the rest of the details are foggy. I work for a Fortune 100 financial office. I wouldn't trust 95% of the people with a cent of my money. There are a few decent people, but the rest don't give a shit, they want the commission and the policy count. And a ton of them have either been sued, given strikes on their records, investigated for fraud and/or are not allowed to use wording due to their past behavior. I work in market research and do quality and assurance. I essentially review all of the data our interviewers collect from respondents. Aside from that, I also edit the data so it makes sense because some people say wild things. I also recode responses and often replace open-ended responses with what I feel is appropriate. Surveys that were ended too soon due to the respondent hanging up, I go into those and complete them. I don't even call the respondent back, I literally put whatever I want. We do surveys for political issues like upcoming elections, customer satisfaction studies, and for colleges/universities. We even have a reoccurring study that collects data from people who were impacted from the BP oil spill. We recently picked up a job the IRS wants us to conduct too. It really opened my eyes to look at where data comes from and how honest that company is who collected and validated the data.